بسم الله ما كان من نعمة فمن الله. بسم الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. بسم الله لا يسوق الخير إلا الله. بسم الله لا يصرف الشر إلا الله. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أهل الله. أما بعد، إخوة الإيمان, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for granting us this chance to continue the recitation or the reading of this book of ours in this field of fiqh, that is Matn al-Akhdari or Mukhtasar al-Akhdari لشيخ أبي زيد عبد الرحمن ابن محمد الصغير الأخضري عليه رحمة الله. The fiqh under the madhab of Imam Malik. Ikhwatul Iman, as we were discussing in the last class, we heard about the Sheikh Al-Akhdari and then his book, the book of Mukhtasar Al-Akhdari, and we said that this book consists of three things. The first part of the book talks about al-adab, ethics, certain manners that a Muslim should be mannered with, male or female. As far as he is matured, al-mukallaf, somebody who is matured, somebody who the Sharia of Islam requests certain do's and don'ts from him, he should be mannered with these characteristics, with this ethics, with these manners. And the second part of the book talks about at-tahara, purification. Kitab al-tahara is book number 2 in this book of Akhdari. Under it, we are going to study about the types of water that you can use in purifying yourself, and then how to do ablution, the obligatory parts of ablution. It talks about ablution, and then it talks about ghuslul janaba, the janaba bathing, that is the traditional bathing or the spiritual bathing that we take for janaba reasons. We have that of ghuslul haid after the menstrual cycle, and then after postnatal bleeding for those that give birth, the women, and other types of bathings. And then the last part of the book talks about as-salah, the prayer. And then it talks about prayer, certain advices he gave concerning prayer, and then he concluded by talking about as-sahwu. As-sahwu, that is the prostration for forgetfulness. Had it been you are going to pray Zuhur, instead of 4 raka'ah, you prayed 5, how are you going to do? Are you going to cancel the whole prayer, and so on and so forth? So that is in brief concerning the book of Akhdari. Today, inshallah, we are going to start with the first book, that is the book of ethics, and that is the muqaddimah of the Sheikh. The Sheikh said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. He started his book by bringing Bismillah. And this is something requested from any Muslim. Any work you want to do which is good, start it with Bismillah. You want to start eating, start with Bismillah. You want to make ablution, start with Bismillah. You want to recite Quran, we can see in every surah, Allah started with Bismillah. You say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You want to sit, you say Bismillah. At least say so. And so on and so forth. Most of the good things we are going to do, we see that we put Bismillah ahead. So Shaykh said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, he is starting his writing with the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. He said, وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى نَبِيِّنَا مُحَمَّدٍ وَعَلَى آلِهِ وَصَحْبِهِ وَسَلَّمَ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send peace and salutations upon our Prophet Muhammad وعلى آله, and also upon his family, وعلى آله وصحبه, and upon his companions, وسلم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send peace and salutations upon all of them. He said, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praises and thanks are due to Allah. They belong to Allah. To Allah belongs praises and thanks. Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lord, cherisher, sustainer of the worlds. Who is the Lord, the cherisher, the sustainer of the worlds. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Peace and salutations again be upon ala Sayyidina Muhammadin. Be upon our leader Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Khatimin Nabiyyin. Khataman Nabiyyin. Khatamin Nabiyyin. Khatamin Nabiyyin. Who is the seal of the prophets. Khatamin Nabiyyin. He said, wa imamil mursalin, and also leader of all the messengers. The leader of the messengers. He said, أول ما يجب على المكلف تصحيح إيمانه ثم معرفة ما يصلح به فرض عينه كأحكام الصلاة والطهارة والصيام. The first obligation upon any mukallaf. Al-mukallafu is somebody, al-mukallafu huwa al-balighu al-aqilu. It is somebody who first of all is mature. Al-balighu, he must be mature. Al-aqil, he must be somebody of sense. He must be sane, not insane. Somebody who is of full health. Somebody who is sane and not insane. So al-mukallaf has to fulfill three things. After being a Muslim, he must be mature. After being mature, he must be of full sense. He must be a sane person, not insane. When he fulfills these three, he is called al-mukallaf. سمي مكلفا لأنه إذا بلغ وأقل كلف بأوامر من الشرع لا بد أن يأتي بها وزواجر لا بد أن ينتهي عنها. He is called al-mukallaf, or she is called mukallafa, because after fulfilling these three conditions, there are orders, there are commands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants him to obey. There are do's that they want him to do, and there are don'ts that they don't want him to even approach. He must abstain away from those things. So this person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want him to do certain things is called al-mukallaf, to do and not to do. So he said the first obligatory upon al-mukallaf, who is that person who has fulfilled that three things, first thing, tashihu imani, to authenticate his iman, to correct his iman, to make his iman be authentic, be correct, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want him to be. This tasheehul iman, authenticating iman, is divided into two. First of all, for person who already has iman, someone who is a Muslim, he already has the iman is already there. What does he have to do is to study what is going to make that iman of his be authenticated, by gaining knowledge of al-aqidah, by understanding at-tawheed, by understanding ash-shirk, so that he knows tawheed and he follows, and then he knows ash-shirk and abstain away from. He knows what is called as-sunnah, he follows the sunnah. He knows what is called al-bid'ah, he abstains away from bid'ah. When he understands these things, and then he also gets manners that the Muslim is supposed to be mannered with, ethics, then we say his iman is authentic. There are many ahadiths related to this, but we cannot Go ahead, because we said we are going to do it in brief. The second part of the authenticating Iman is for someone who has no Iman. That is someone who is out of the circle of Islam. That person is going to be requested to accept Islam. He accepting Islam has authenticated his Iman. Now Iman has been implanted in him or in her. So the Iman have been authenticated. And then he also continues by studying Al-Aqidah. Studying Al-Aqidah, books of Al-Aqidah, correct books that are written in the field of Al-Aqidah. So he understands Al-Tawheed, he understands Al-Shirk, he understands Al-Sunnah, Al-Bid'ah, and so on and so forth. So this is the first obligatory upon any Muslim. That is the reason we are going to see whenever the Prophet ﷺ, he sends an ambassador, he sends someone to go to any place among the companions, like Mu'adh ibn Jabal when he was sent to Yemen. The Prophet ﷺ told him, you are going to the people of Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book, Jews and Christians. That place you are going to meet them. The first thing you are going to invite them to should be that they should single out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worship. At-Tawheed, they should single out Allah in worship. This should be the first thing you are going to call them to. And then when they obey you in this, you tell them that Allah has written 5 daily prayers upon them in their days and their nights. When they have obeyed you on this, you tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have prescribed zakah upon them. When they obeyed you upon this, you also tell them Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written fasting upon them. When they obey you, tell them about al-hajj and so on and so forth till the end of the hadith. But the first obligation, the first order the Prophet gave was to call them to at-tawheed. This shows the importance of at-tawheed. He said, ثم معرفة ما يصلح به فرض عينه كأحكام الصلاة والطهارة والصيام. And then he also learned certain rules that are going to help him correct his fardu ain. Fardu ain, obligatory, is an obligation that no one can take away from. There are 2 types of obligations in Islam also. There are obligations that when part of the community does, the sin descends is taken off from the other part of the community. Like funeral prayer. Had it been someone is going to die in a Muslim community and all the community refuses to pray upon this person, Allah is going to write sin to each and every one there. But had it been part of the community will pray and the part are not going to pray, Allah will take off the sin from all of them. Even though the rest are not going to be rewarded, but the sin is not going to be written to them. And then there is fardu ain, where everyone has to do it for himself, like the prayers. Each and every person has to pray. You have to pray the 5 daily prayers. You have to fast for yourself. I cannot go and pray and then tell my friend that I have prayed for you. This is called fardu ain. So he said you have to learn what you are going to correct your fardu ain with, like the rulings concerning the salah, and then the purification and as-siyam. Ikhwatul iman, this can only be done through gaining authentic knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ said, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم على كل مسلم. طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. Searching for knowledge is obligatory upon any Muslim. It is only by gaining knowledge that you can know all of this and then correct your ibadah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us sincerity. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us understanding. وبهذا القدر كفاية. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.